Good morning, I'm Neva Manu, and this is your morning news fix for Wednesday, 29th of April. In this update, some peace of mind for sectors dependent on diesel, with the government procuring an extra 9 days' supply. It signed a letter of intent with Z Energy to secure a further 90 million litres for our reserves. It'll be delivered to Northland's Marsden Point by early July, and the Crown will control its release into the market. Transporting NZ Chief Executive Dom Kalassi says freight carriers are still facing price surges, but this improves supply resilience, and he says it brings greater certainty, which has been the biggest challenge. Meanwhile, a warning: New Zealand may start losing flight schools, with jet fuel prices still sky high. Government-funded tertiary education providers are given a yearly limit on how much they can charge students, meaning fuel costs can't be passed on through fees. The Tertiary Education Commission says any request to up fees will only be considered for next year, with increases capped at 6% this year. Aviation Industry Association Chief Executive Simon Wallace says flight schools need to be financially viable. He says some of them may not be able to operate unless the government gives some assistance. And Associate Energy Minister Shane Jones says the government's looking at whether it needs to intervene on jet fuel. It's a day of pomp and ceremony in Washington, D.C., with King Charles making an historic address to Congress. King Charles and Queen Camilla's visit to Washington, D.C., the first British state visit to the US since 2007, comes amid strained US-UK relations. Earlier, US President Donald Trump welcomed the King to the White House, referencing the special relationship between the countries. And he says in the centuries since the US won independence, they've had no closer friend than the British. Canadian police are set to open an office in New Zealand to target criminal cartels smuggling drugs here. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police plan to send an international liaison officer to Wellington this year. They're expected to work alongside local law enforcement, customs and agencies like the FBI. The Herald's Jared Savage says a large amount of methamphetamine is now entering New Zealand from Canada. He says it has become a big problem, and now there will be more cooperation to address it. A geopolitics expert says he's troubled a vote turned down building a statue in a Korean garden in Auckland's Takapuna. The statue would have honoured women forced into sex slavery by Japan's army in World War II. It was opposed by the Japanese embassy and members of the Japanese community. Devonport Takapuna local board voted it down 4-2. Analyst Jeffrey Miller says it feels like the wrong outcome, with the embassy effectively vetoing it. In sport, two-time Olympic rowing medalist Emma Twiggs eagerly waiting to find out how New Zealand hopes to contest coastal rowing when it debuts at the 2028 LA Games. Crusaders halfback Louis Chapman is departing for Scotland's Edinburgh club at the end of the year, where he has ancestry eligibility. Jerome Luai is expected to be officially unveiled today as a marquee signing for the Papua New Guinea-based NRL expansion franchise. And former NBA player and coach Damon Jones faces up to 2 years in jail after admitting to his involvement in insider betting and rigged poker games. I'm Neva Manu, that's your latest news fix. We'll be back with the next update at midday from the Newstalk ZB newsroom.